Professor Kethmira had taught comparative species biology at the Centauri Prime University for over 4 decades. She prided herself on maintaining objectivity when discussing the various member species of the Galactic Federation. Today's lecture was scheduled to cover the newest additions to their civilized society, the humans from Sol 3, colloquially known as Deathworlders. The auditorium buzzed with the typical mix of curiosity and subtle disdain that accompany discussions of primitive species. 200 students from 37 different civilizations filled the tiered seating, their various appendages rustling with anticipation for what they expected to be an amusing academic exercise. Today we examine Homo sapiens, Professor Kethmira began, her crystalline form refracting the lecture hall's lights into prismatic patterns. Native to Sol 3, classified as a Class 12 death world. Initial contact occurred 18 standard months ago. A student from the Velcorian Collective raised a tentacle. Professor, is it true they evolved from primitive hunters? How did such a species achieve space travel? The professor's mandibles clicked in what her species considered amusement. An excellent question, Veldis. The answer reveals the first shocking truth about these so-called Deathworlders. She activated the holographic display, showing Earth's solar system. They didn't just evolve from hunters, they evolved from persistence hunters. The class stirred with confusion. Most galactic species had evolved from prey animals or peaceful grazers. The concept of a sapient species descended from apex predators was theoretically possible, but rarely encountered. Persistence hunting, the professor continued, involves chasing prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Humans can run continuously for hours, tracking wounded animals across vast distances until their quarry simply gives up and dies. The hologram showed human anatomy, highlighting their unusual bipedal structure. Every aspect of their physiology is optimized for this hunting strategy. A Zephyrian student's voice carried the musical tones of her wind-based communication. But Professor, surely this is just evolutionary history? They've evolved beyond such primitive behavior? Professor Kethmira's expression grew more serious. This brings us to the second shocking truth. They haven't evolved beyond it, they've refined it. The display shifted to show human recreational activities. They call it exercise now. Humans voluntarily subject themselves to physical stress that would hospitalize most of our species. They run for pleasure. They lift heavy objects repeatedly for entertainment. The auditorium fell silent as the implications sank in. The crystalline collective representative made a sound like breaking glass. You're saying they torture themselves for fun? It gets worse, the professor said, her voice carrying the weight of disturbing revelation. Their planet tried to kill them for millions of years, so they adapted to thrive under conditions that would be lethal to us. But when they achieved civilization and made their world safer, did they become peaceful? She paused dramatically. No. They invented new ways to recreate the danger. The hologram showed extreme human sports, mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, skydiving. They throw themselves from aircraft at terminal velocity and consider it recreation. They descend to crushing ocean depths where pressure would liquefy most organic matter. They climb vertical rock faces in weather that would freeze most of our species solid. A student from the peaceful Meadowland system spoke with trembling harmonics. But why? What drives them to such self-destructive behavior? Professor Kethmira's translation software struggled to find appropriate terms. They claim it makes them feel alive. Apparently, when existence becomes too safe, they must create artificial danger to maintain psychological stability. The class erupted in horrified chittering, clicking, and harmonizing as hundreds of alien minds tried to process this information. The idea of voluntarily seeking danger was so alien to most galactic species that their translation software began outputting error messages. This leads us to the third and most disturbing truth about humans, the professor continued, waiting for the class to quiet. They don't just survive in extreme conditions, they actively seek them out and call it exploration. As the implications of humanity's true nature began to dawn on the assembled students, Professor Keth Mira realized that her comfortable academic worldview was about to be permanently shattered. The Deathworlders weren't just another primitive species joining galactic civilization. They were something far more unsettling, a species that had turned survival into art, danger into entertainment, and the impossible into routine. And they were just getting started.